He thought, and rightfully so, that he was the greatest basketball player that ever lived. Physically, he was still the most imposing physical player that ever played this league, period. There's no one that's come close to him in terms of just physical prowess.
And as athletic as any man who ever walked the earth. You try guarding that on a basketball court sometime.
This was more than just some big guy who dunked the basketball and ran up and down the court. This was a true athlete, and his physical prowess was unbelievable.
He's going to the basket.
Deep, there's Wilt to block the shot. Boy, Wilt blocked that nicely. Wilt playing another tremendous game, wraparound pass. The Globetrotters are here and jumping in. Great play for the big man.
Peace and blessings. Welcome to GOAT James Kingdom. On this episode, we're going to discuss the greatness of Wilt Chamberlain and why we call him Thanos here in GOAT James Kingdom. Now, we have a lot to break down, but one of the main things we want to discuss is how Wilt Chamberlain was misunderstood throughout his career. And this confusion of his career is based on how great he was. Let's let his peers break it down.
Chamberlain was concerned about Chamberlain. He was in love with his stats.
I think showing his peers that he could score 50 a game, that he could get 24 rebounds, that he could get 8 assists. I think that was enough for Wilt to say, look, they're the numbers.
He was so great that no matter what he did, people never accepted it as being enough.
If you look at his records and the records that he set, I always thought it was like watching him in slow motion. I thought he could have even done more.
If you win, everybody says, well, look at him, he's that big. If you lose, it's, how could he lose a guy that size? I think it's confused him. He would have been better in an individual sport. He'd have been much better just competing for himself.
So as we heard the words from Wilt Chamberlain's contemporaries, we can hear how great he was. And the confusion and misunderstanding of his career is based on that greatness. Not only was he a large man in stature and in real life, his game was that as well. He broke all kinds of records we all know no one will ever match or ever surpass. Wilt Chamberlain's greatness is beyond all of the things that we hear from him because it's available for us in the stats. We can see how great he was statistically in the game of basketball. They changed the game for Wilt Chamberlain because he was that dominant. And let's not forget the 100-point game that he put up.
Talk about another number, all right? Let's talk about the number 100 points. In one game, which I believe was versus the Knicks, 1962.
That's right.
Yeah. Is that right?
It's a long time ago. Right.
Was there a point, 100 points in one game, was there a point where just the other team like left and made sandwiches on the bench? I mean,
well, I really wish it was. Actually, they were really very embarrassed about the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so they were mad at me. You know, and I was just out there trying to have fun.
Did you start to, like, at 85 points, did you start to feel bad a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
and the people
like, I'll just try and miss this one, 100 points.
And I did that. I know. I did that. Then my mother scolded me when I got home. You should be ashamed of yourself. You know, it was not an easy night.
No.
Yeah, because I had a lot of friends on the Knicks.
100 points, ladies and gentlemen. Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in a basketball game. These are the type of records that Wilt Chamberlain was setting when he was playing in the NBA. He was so great. A lot of people don't understand how great he was because a lot of the game footage and a lot of the things that we hear about Wilt Chamberlain and see in the stats are not available for us to see as far as his games. There are even stats of Wilt Chamberlain that we don't even know about, like his blocks and steals, which were not recorded in the 60s. But if they were, Wilt Chamberlain would be considered the greatest rim protector of all time.
Great shot by Chamberlain. Jones, 3-on-2. Russell, blocked by Chamberlain. A great block by Chamberlain. Two great plays by Wilt Chamberlain.
Now let's watch his defense.
He's going to challenge Wilt. He does. Wilt fly swats it right down his throat.
Jumps it up over Wilt. Wilt blocks it. That's 4 block shots for Chamberlain. Chamberlain blocked it. Great play by Chamberlain. Chamberlain gets the ball. Nice play.
Trying to get it up over Chamberlain. He drives it down his throat.
The Heinz and he's deep. Blocked by Chamberlain.
He switches to Krebs. Blocks the shot.
Sam Jones. Good block by Chamberlain.
It's a 3-inch height advantage. Chamberlain got just enough of it.
Havlicek blocked, and Chamberlain has the rebound.
Going to drive over Chamberlain. Wilt slaps it out of there. Good block by Chamberlain. Penetrates, gives to Jackson. Chamberlain blocks it.
Put it up again. Chamberlain slaps it out.
That's 7 times Wilt's blocked shots tonight.
In on Wilt, puts it up, Wilt knocks it down.
So if we counted the blocks and steals that would have been available to Wilt Chamberlain, his numbers would be through the roof. It would be outrageously ridiculous to even mention Wilt Chamberlain with anybody else. And with all of this available to us, people still try to discredit Wilt Chamberlain by saying he was just bigger than everybody else. All he did was dunk. He really didn't have no skills, but they never really watched the game or know the game of basketball.
Wilt Chamberlain. Oh, how about that?
Wilt still tries it. And in she goes. Chamberlain turns and shoots outside. Good.
There's somebody going through the middle. Nobody goes. Wilt takes it in himself. Puts it in there.
Wilt did not go in and bump and dislodge people. That was not his game. And if you remember, the main point is 60% or more of Wilt's shots came on fadeaways.
Chamberlain is the greatest scoring machine the game has ever known, and he can score on you in dozens of ways. Here's one you can't stop, the fall-away jumper. And he hits this repeatedly, despite good defense. That fall-away jumper just cannot be stopped. Beautiful.
When this giant walks out on the floor, the 76ers automatically have a great number of points.
Unbelievable shot, Pete. If he gets that close to the basket, I don't see how anyone can stop him.
So, as you can see, Wilt Chamberlain's greatness was available on both sides of the basketball. And a lot of people still like to hold things against him because they like to say that he fell off in the playoffs or he wasn't as dominant in the most crucial moments of his career. But that is so far from the truth. The reality is there were two types of Wilt Chamberlains. Wilt Chamberlain's career needs to be split into two halves. And that first half of Wilt Chamberlain's career is the Wilt Thanos that we talk about, the dominant Wilt Chamberlain between 1960 and 1966. These 7 seasons by Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest peak in NBA history. Nobody dominated the game statistically and individually like Wilt Chamberlain did between 1960 and 1966. And even if we go to the playoffs, you see the same dominance. They like to say his points dropped in the playoffs, but if you look, it's not really his points, it's his actual field goal attempts because Wilt Chamberlain faced tougher defenses when he eventually got into the playoffs, resulting into not winning any championships within this span of his career. And this is what Wilt Chamberlain haters hold against Wilt Chamberlain. But if we go and look at Wilt Chamberlain's second half of his career, when he was asked to score less and do more on the basketball court, he began to have a little bit more team success as he was able to win his 2 championships within this span and also dominate the NBA in field goal percentage and rebounding. In fact, Wilt Chamberlain actually won an assist title during this span as well. Wilt Chamberlain is the only player in NBA history to win every statistical seasonal title that existed in his era. Wilt Chamberlain is one of the greatest players to ever play. He was multifaceted. Let's watch this film on Wilt Chamberlain.
I'm going to tell you something. As bad as it looked, you didn't miss by that much. You see me make 2 in a row. I had to set one fast. There you go. I just made the last 3 of them. This is the one I'm talking about for 5 hours. Get up!
So as we can see, there was nothing on the basketball court that Wilt Chamberlain could not do. They had to change rules for Wilt Chamberlain. This is why he is Thanos. He is misunderstood and he is so dominant that people have to find ways to discredit what he did. A lot of people like to bring up the fact that he couldn't beat Bill Russell, which was his rivalry in this era. But if we look at what he did against the Boston Celtics, we can clearly see Wilt Chamberlain was dominant also versus Bill Russell. Although Wilt Chamberlain's teams were not as dominant as Bill Russell's teams, because as you can see, Wilt Chamberlain lost 7 out of the 8 matchups versus the Boston Celtics. But Wilt Chamberlain was still dominant. Now remember, there are 2 separate Wilt Chamberlain phases, and we have to also break it down for the playoffs versus the Boston Celtics. And if we look at the top part and the first half of Wilt Chamberlain's career, we can see how dominant he was versus the Boston Celtics compared to all the other teams he faced in the playoffs during that same span. Wilt Chamberlain was still dominant versus the Boston Celtics from 1960 to 1966. And although Wilt Chamberlain's teams were not able to get over the hump versus the Boston Celtics between 1960 and 1966, he was still the Wilt Chamberlain that we all know and what we call Thanos. But when he decided to play more team basketball and take less shots like he was asked after 1966, you can see he still had success versus the Boston Celtics, and this was one of the only players to beat a healthy Bill Russell in Bill Russell's career. And this was with Wilt Chamberlain deciding not to score and not to be as dominant as he was as a scorer for the first half of his career. Because if we take a look at the bottom and the second half of Wilt Chamberlain's career, we can see the only difference between the top and the bottom is that Wilt Chamberlain just decided to take less shots. Way more less shots than he did when he was dominated in scoring. So at the end of the day, what Wilt Chamberlain's career is a career of a player that was able to do everything on the basketball court. He changed the way we saw a basketball player, and his rivalry with the Boston Celtics and Bill Russell eventually solidified the NBA as a professional sport and their athletes as true professional athletes. Wilt Chamberlain changed the idea of what we thought about the game of basketball. And here in GOAT James Kingdom, we appreciate those that actually set the path for those that we get a chance to watch today, because the game is still great. So let us give you a little bit of tribute to Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain.
If you were playing today, how would you fare against today's centers?
That would be dishonest.
I would think that
that'd be a license to steal.
I'm happy that I have a big mouth because I can say it on my own, Bill. It wouldn't be a license to steal. You're right. I would love it. Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, it would be a joke.
But wait a minute. What about against the Elijah ones?
He's quicker than I am, but I believe I'm faster than he is. Or was at one time. I'm still pretty fast. No, but I just don't know of any center of today that really. The best players I played against, starting right here, were all back in yesteryear. I mean, you want to talk about Nate Thurman, Willis Reed. You know what I'm saying?
I really am interested. How would you play Shaquille O'Neal, a player like Shaquille O'Neal?
Yeah, I'm interested in that myself.
Well, first of all, if you want me to be serious for a minute.
Yes.
I would make him play horizontal as much as possible. Plus, I would make him have to run up and down the court all day. I figure if I weigh 240 and he weighs 300,
40,
and if he gets to carry that whatever it is, up and down every time at a rapid rate, that the fatigue factor becomes part of it.
You know, you take guys out of your comfort zone. I wonder how Bill would play someone as big and strong and as fast as Shaquille. And he's right. You know, first of all, you just find the things that he does the worst, and those are the things you try to make him do the most.
So he just answered the question for you.
Yeah, I said I did it in a much shorter, more succinct manner.
Yeah, he's far more articulate.
If you were playing today, how many points would you average, you think?
In what, today, right now?
No, not right now. I mean,
because I could get maybe 30 right now, big fella. I'm trying to tell you.
At 60.
Yeah, 30 and 60, you cut that in half. Yeah, so, but at 30,
I call him on his birthday.
Get 30, but at 30, I could probably average 60 or 70. Yeah, and I mean, I'm saying that. I'm saying that politely. I'm not trying to just, I'm not trying to dismantle your belief on how great the athlete of today is. But the game would best suit me. Believe me, it would best suit me.
Same with you, Bill. Game.
My advantage would be, is like, for example, when the Bulls won the championship this year, they were able to nullify the centers. But see, my center position, I played defense more than offense. So that would not work on me.
That.
You understand what I'm talking about?
He talks long on his points. That's
The 25-year-old Wilt Chamberlain transplanted into today's NBA. What do you do?
Well,
you can take Russell with you.
It's simple for me. It may be a little different for Russ, but simple for me. I think it'd be as easy for Russ. You see, with the new rules, which are all slant to help the offense. Now, when I get the ball, instead of having 2 and 3 people and Russ all at me at the same time, I'm by myself with one guy. I would love it. I would love it. 50 points, maybe 60 points, maybe 70 points a game. Because I have nobody. Wait a minute. Well, you asked me a question, right?
70 a game.
Well, the last 10 games, I was talking to Russ about the last 10 games of my 61-62 season, right before I scored 100 points, I averaged about 71 points a game.
Yeah, you were on a rampage.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, but it's easier now. I was too fast. I was too strong. One guy is not going to take me down in that particular way. The best basketball athletes I've ever seen played in the 50s and 60s.